afternoon, my dear students. My name is G. Swapna from Microbiology Department, TSWRDCW, Jagityal. Today, I am here to explain a very important topic called biomolecules, enzymes. Okay, so what are biomolecules? So, molecules are nothing but the different types of chemical components which are present in environment. Okay, like carbon dioxide, ammonia, sulfur, phosphorus, nitrogen, potassium. So, these chemical compounds, when they are present in a complex form in living organisms, they are called as biomolecules. Okay, so the term bio means living. So, molecules or the chemicals which are present inside the living organisms are known as biomolecules. So, these biomolecules are the building blocks of the life. Okay, so for example, can we construct a building without bricks? Definitely no. In the same way, these in the absence of biomolecules, there is no life. They will act as the building blocks for the cell synthesis or for the formation of a life. So there are different types of biomolecules present in the body, like proteins, nucleic acids, lipids and carbohydrates. So, these are the different types of biomolecules which are present inside the body. So, these biomolecules will play a wonderful role in the normal metabolic activities of the organism. So, among these different types of biomolecules, I want to focus on enzymes. Why only I selected enzymes? These enzymes are the wonderful molecules which can control all the biological reactions or all the chemical reactions which are taking place inside a cell. For example, digestion, respiration, metabolism, circulation, movement, etc. So, some of you may not know the terms, the meaning of the terms which I used now. Okay, so let me tell you a simple example that we all are human beings and all are made up of, the body is made up of different types of organs. So, each organ is again directed towards different function. For example, the lungs, kidneys, heart, brain, etc. So, all organs, they have their own functions or their own performance. So, to perform all the functions of the body or all the different organs of the body, again they depend on energy. Okay, so where this energy will come? So, we all take food, right? So, this food is first converted into simple form, that is called glucose, and then this glucose is converted into ATP, or we can simply call it as energy. Okay, so the complex form of food, first it is digested to glucose, and now this glucose is further metabolized by a process of respiration to ATP, and now this ATP is used by the cell as a form of energy. So, in the conversion of food to energy, the total reactions are under the control of enzymes only. So, the enzymes will play a very important role in continuous supply of energy for proper functioning of different parts of the organ. See, for example, if we take brain, okay, so this brain will require nearly 50% of the total glucose of the body for its functioning. That's why brain is considered as the energy demanding organ of the body. See, imagine if there is no enzyme or if there are no enzymes in the body, then all the reactions will not take place and there is no survival of the cell. So, that is the importance of the enzymes. So, now today I want to explain about the definition of an enzyme, what is the history of an enzyme, and structure, classification, mechanisms of enzyme action, factors affecting enzyme action, and the last one is applications of the enzyme. So, in this class I want to focus on these contents. First of all, what are enzymes? Okay, so coming to the definition of an enzyme, simply enzymes are defined as the proteins. Okay, so chemically all enzymes are the proteins, and these proteins are made up of different types of amino acids. and these amino acids are binded with each other by a bond called as peptide bond. So simply a enzyme is also defined as a polypeptide chain, and these enzymes are present in all the living cells. Okay, and another name for the enzyme is biocatalyst, or it is also called biological catalyst. What is a catalyst? So catalyst is nothing but it is a chemical which will enhance or which will initiate the rate of reaction, which will enhance the rate of reaction. It will initiate a reaction as well as enhance the rate of reaction. So they are called as catalysts, which are generally used in laboratories for different types of chemical reactions. So the same function of the catalyst is performed by the enzyme inside the cell. That's why enzymes are called as biological catalyst and biocatalyst. So during this biological reaction, what actually the enzyme will do? Okay, so that enzyme will convert the substrate into product. Okay, first it will binds with the substrate and it will convert that substrate into product by its mechanism of action. So during this enzymatic conversion of substrate to product, this particular enzyme will not undergo any change. This is one of the most important property of the enzyme. Being is utilized or involved in an enzymatic biochemical reaction, but it will not undergo any change during this particular reaction. Okay, so now we can able to know what are enzymes, where they are present, and what is the function of an enzyme. So now moving on to the next slide. So behind these tremendous enzymes, there are several scientists who contributed a lot to the field of enzymology. So in this class, I want to focus on 4 famous personalities. So first one is Anselmi Payen. Okay, so he was the first person who discovered an enzyme called as diastase. So first enzyme discovered was diastase, and by the scientist called Anselmi Payen. So next to Payen, another scientist called Kuhne. So Kuhne was a scientist who actually coined the term enzyme. The term enzyme was coined by Kuhne. He was a chemist, and followed by another famous personality called James B. Sumner. Okay, so Sumner was a scientist who for the first time isolated, purified and crystallized the enzyme. Okay, so that crystallization and purification of enzyme was first done by a scientist called James B. Sumner. For his work, he was awarded with a Nobel Prize. Okay, so first enzyme which was purified by Sumner was urease enzyme. So next to Sumner, and another scientist, Edward Buchner. Okay, Edward Buchner. So he was the first person who successfully isolated the enzyme from a living cell without altering its chemical properties. Okay, so he isolated the enzyme from the living cell and he used that particular enzyme for other purposes. So for this also he was awarded with a Nobel Prize, and Buchner was considered as the father of enzymology. So after the invention of Buchner only, the enzyme applications are not only limited to the cell, okay, but beyond the cell in commercial aspect also these enzymes are used nowadays. So next, moving on to another slide. Now I want to explain the structure of an enzyme. As I told you that enzymes are the proteins and they are made up of amino acids bounded by peptide linkages, and simply they are polypeptide chains. So depending upon the structural complexity, okay, depending upon the structural complexity, enzymes are divided into 2 types. One is called as simple enzymes, and second type are called as complex enzymes. Okay, simple enzymes and complex enzymes. So simple, the term itself indicating that simple enzymes are the enzymes which are purely made up of proteins. Okay, they are purely proteinaceous in nature. Coming to the second type of enzymes called complex enzymes. So complex enzymes are the enzymes which not only have a protein part but also they have a non-protein part. Okay, so complex enzymes are the enzymes the combination of a proteinaceous part as well as a non-proteinaceous part. So when we observe that particular diagram where a holoenzyme is observed, so another name for the complex enzyme is holoenzyme. So in detailed structure of this holoenzyme, generally we have a cup-shaped apoenzyme. Okay, so that cup-shaped apoenzyme is followed by a cofactor and coenzymes. So complex enzymes are the enzymes which are made up of a protein part called as apoenzyme, and in addition to a protein part, non-protein part is also there. So this non-protein part is either a coenzyme or it is a cofactor. Okay, so cofactors and coenzymes are the non-protein parts of the enzyme. So what are cofactors again? These cofactors are the simple metal ions. Okay, these are the simple metal ions like iron, magnesium and zinc. So these cofactors will binds with apoenzyme. They will loosely binds with this particular apoenzyme. And coming to coenzymes, what are coenzymes again? Coenzymes are the organic molecules. So these are the organic molecules like NAD, FMN, FAD. So these are all the examples of coenzymes. They will binds with the apoenzyme to form a functional complex enzyme, or it is called as a holoenzyme. So actually what is the purpose of these cofactors or coenzymes? Why they should bind with this apoenzyme? See here, the function of cofactor and coenzymes is they will act as the catalytic sites or the binding sites for the substrate. Okay, I told that the substrate is converted into the product by the action of an enzyme. Okay, so how a substrate is converted into product? By binding with the enzyme. So for that binding of the substrate to the enzyme should require an active site. It is called as an active site or a binding site or a catalytic site. So why it is called as catalytic site? So catalysis, the true chemical reaction will takes place at that particular area. That's why they are called as catalytic sites or the binding sites. Okay, so this is the simple structure of an enzyme. Proteinaceous in nature, simple enzymes and complex enzymes. So now moving on to the next slide. So before entering into the next slide, is a single enzyme is enough to carry out all the chemical reactions? No, because in a cell, inside a living cell, thousands of reactions are going on. Okay, so to catalyze those particular chemical reactions, again different types of enzymes are required. For example, if we take a human cell, okay, if we take a human cell where nearly 1300 different types of enzymes are present and each enzyme has its own function. So this is simply we can call it as enzyme specificity. For example, in our body, lipids are there. Okay, so for the catalysis of lipids or for the digestion of the lipids, compulsory we require lipases. Okay, so lipids, lipase enzyme. For example, in the body, proteins are there. So for the digestion of the proteins, we require proteases. So like this, specific substrate and specific enzyme. Enzymatic reactions are specific reactions. Okay, not single enzyme can able to bind with the different types of substrates. So like this, depending upon the activity, depending upon the action shown by the enzyme on the substrate, again enzymes are classified into 6 types. Okay, what are they? Number 1, oxidoreductases. Second one is transferases, hydrolases, lyases, isomerases, and the last one is ligases. So now let me explain one by one. For first one is oxidoreductases. So the name itself is saying that oxidoreductase. It is something related to oxidation and reduction reactions. What is oxidation reduction reaction? Oxidation reduction reaction is simply the exchange of electrons. Okay, here there is an exchange of electrons will takes place between the substrate, one substrate to another substrate. So the best example for this oxidoreductases is pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme. So this pyruvate dehydrogenase enzyme, it will catalyze the reaction of conversion of pyruvic acid to acetyl-CoA. So here the one substrate will donate its electrons and it becomes oxidized, and another substrate will receive the particular electrons and it becomes reduced. Okay. So oxidation and reduction reactions are catalyzed by oxidoreductase enzyme. Next, second type of enzymes are called as transferases. So what is the term transfer means? So here there is something is transferring. Okay. So transferases are the enzymes which will transfer the particular group from one substrate to another substrate. See, for example, here the chemical components will have amino groups, keto groups, aldehyde groups, etc. Okay. So these transferases, what they will do means they will transfer these functional groups from one substrate to another substrate. For example, transaminase. So this transaminase is the enzyme which will transfer amino group from one substrate to another substrate. So the second example is, for example, phosphoglucotransferase. So this phosphoglucotransferase is another enzyme which will transfer the phosphate group. Here the name itself indicating that glucophosphotransferase. So here the transferring of phosphate group will takes place from one glucose one carbon to another carbon. So this is about transferases. So next, coming to the third type of enzymes called hydrolases. So the name itself has hydro means water, definitely. So hydrolases are the enzymes which will cause hydrolytic cleavage of the bonds. Here the cleavage will take place by using water molecule, that's why they are named as hydrolases. So all the digestive enzymes of the system will comes under these hydrolases. So we take the complex form of food materials like polysaccharides, lipids, etc. And these polysaccharides, lipids and proteins are hydrolyzed first or broken down first to simpler compounds, and then that simpler compounds will enter into the respiration, that is glycolysis, Krebs cycle and electron transport chain to convert into energy. So all the digestive enzymes will comes under hydrolase group. Okay. So here I mentioned an example called proteases. They will convert the proteins, complex proteins to peptides, and peptides are further acted upon by peptidases to convert to simple amino acids. Okay. So now the fourth type of enzymes called as lyases. Okay. Lyase, the name lyase means lysis. Okay. Lyase is nothing but lysis of the bond. So here lyases are the enzymes which will cause the lysis of the bonds. So for example, the aldolases are the group of enzymes which will lyse a 6-carbon compound into 2 3-carbon compounds. For example, in glycolysis reaction we observe fructose 1,6 biphosphate. Okay. So this fructose 1,6 biphosphate, it will converts into 2 3-carbon atoms. One is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and second one is dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Okay. So the 6-carbon compound will splits into 2 3-carbon compounds. So this is an example for lyase enzyme, that is aldolase. Next, coming to isomerases. So isomerization, isomers are nothing but, see, these are the chemical compounds which will have the same molecular formula, but they have the arrangement of chemical groups is different. So isomerases are the group of enzymes which will catalyze the isomerization reactions. That means one isomer to another isomer. So this conversion will takes place by the action of isomerases. Example is phosphoglucomutase. So this phosphoglucomutase, it will convert glucose 1-phosphate to glucose 6-phosphate. So what is the difference between glucose 1-phosphate and glucose 6-phosphate? See, in glucose 1-phosphate, phosphate group is present at first carbon atom. In glucose 6-phosphate, it is present in 6th carbon atom, but they have the same glucose molecule. So these are called isomers, and these isomerization reactions are catalyzed by isomerases, and the example is phosphoglucoisomerase. Now coming to the last type of enzymes called ligases. So ligation is nothing but addition. Simply we can call that as joining. Okay. So ligases will join the bonds. So ligation reactions here, polynucleotide chain. We all know that DNA, it is a polynucleotide chain which is bounded with each other by phosphodiester bonds. So ligases, they will ligate, they will form a phosphodiester bond between the polynucleotides and convert it into a functional DNA. So example is DNA ligase. So without this DNA ligase, there is no synthesis of DNA. So now coming to the mechanism of enzyme action. So this is very important, how the substrate will converts to the product. Okay. So in the slide we can able to see that is enzyme first bounded to the substrate and that ES complex formation, then EP formation and then E plus P. Okay. So simple example is proteins. Proteins are digested by proteases and converting into peptides and then peptides to amino acids. Okay. So here we can see the diagrammatic representation of enzyme action where the substrate is bounded to the active site of an enzyme. Then that results in the formation of an enzyme substrate complex. Okay. So after the formation of enzyme substrate complex, then enzyme, the substrate converted into product by the action of an enzyme. So which can be observed in a changed color change. Okay. So in the last diagram, the product is released from the enzyme and the enzyme is as it is remained without modifying, without undergoing any changes. So like this, the substrate will first binds with enzyme, ES complex formation will takes place, then the some geometrical changes will takes place on the substrate like oxidation or reduction or addition of amino groups or breakdown of the bonds, like we earlier discussed the different types of enzyme actions. Okay. So next product formation will takes place and then the product is released from the enzyme. So this is the mechanism of enzyme action. So in this mechanism, to explain the mechanism of enzyme action, different scientists propose different models. Okay. So among them, the most important models are lock and key model and induced fit model. So in the first slide we are observing the lock and key model. It is proposed by Emil Fischer scientist. So here we are seeing, we are observing that key and lock like structures. Okay. So specific key for a specific lock. So key is a substrate and the lock is an enzyme. So by this model he tried to say that a specific enzyme, specific substrate, only special substrate will binds with active sites of its special enzyme. So this is the model proposed by Emil Fischer, and according to this model, the binding sites of the enzymes are rigid. They will not undergo any conformational changes. So next followed by another theory called induced fit model, or it is also it was the theory where it is something different to the lock and key model, where we can see here the enzyme will have the active site and the substrate is binding to that active site. But what happening during the substrate binding, the enzyme is undergoing some conformational changes according to the substrate and then the substrate is bounded to the enzyme. So this model will explain that the binding sites of the enzyme are not rigid. They will undergo conformational changes according to the substrate active sites. This is the most important point of induced fit model, and this was proposed by Koshland scientists. Okay. So these two theories will explain how the enzymes will act on the substrate and how they will binds with each other. Now focusing on factors influencing enzyme action. Is enzyme actions will takes place continuously without any influence? Definitely no, because enzymes are the biochemicals. Their action is also under the control of different types of factors. Among them, I want to focus on 4 important factors like temperature, pH, substrate concentration and enzyme concentration. So these are the 4 important factors which will influence the enzymatic action. So among them, the first one is temperature. So here I represented, or the effect of temperature is represented in the form of graphical manner, where on the x-axis the substrate, the temperature, and on the y-axis the rate of reaction. Okay. So with the increase in the temperature of 10 degrees centigrade, there is a rapid increase in the rate of reaction, but after certain level of 40 the rate of reaction is gradually decreasing. So with this we can say that the optimum range of temperature for this particular graph is 40 degrees centigrade, and here our human enzymes are the examples for this particular graph. Okay, the human body temperature is 37 degrees centigrade, so all the enzymes are active approximately or around 40 degrees centigrade. When the temperature is beyond the limit, then automatically all the enzymatic reactions will stop down or the function is reduced. Okay, for example, microbial enzymes, they have high temperature tolerant than human enzymes. So coming to the pH, here the maximum pH is 7 and the optimum range of pH is 5 to 9, where all the chemical reactions will take place in the body. Here there is an exemption that in intestine we have pancreas and the different types of enzymes are there in the intestine, and these intestinal enzymes are acid tolerant and they will function at acidic pH levels. Now moving on to the next slide, substrate and enzyme concentration. So both the substrate and enzyme concentrations, they have the same effect. For example, here if you take substrate concentration, enzyme molecule, the rate of reaction will increase at a particular certain level where the total enzyme is saturated with the substrate. Next to that there is no increase in the rate of reaction. So here we can see, we can observe in the graph clearly, that is maximum velocity, the increase in the rate of reaction. Coming to the enzyme concentration, here also the rate of reaction will increase with increase in the enzyme concentration to a particular level where all the substrate molecules are saturated with the enzyme molecules. Then if at all we going on increase the enzyme concentration, there is no increase in the rate of reaction because there is no free substrate is available for the enzymatic activity. So these are the 4 important factors which will help or which will play a very important role to explain the enzyme action. So now moving on to the last slide, that is applications of enzymes. So the Buchner invention of isolating the enzyme in its pure form from the cell expanded the applications of enzymes not only to the cells but also to commercial aspects. So what are the commercial areas where we use these enzymes? So here I mentioned 4 different areas where the enzymes have profound effect, like industrial applications, environmental applications, agricultural applications and medical applications. So among them I want to explain 2 or 3 points. See, in industrial applications, food and dairy industry. So nowadays our kids are more preferring the junked foods than the traditional foods. Okay, so what are the junked foods? Bakery items, chocolates, biscuits, okay, cakes, pizza, burgers. So these are all prepared by the involvement or by the usage of these enzymes only. Next, coming to the biofuels are also synthesized by using the enzymes. Coming to the medical aspects, here pharmaceutical industry, papain is the enzyme which is used as an anti-inflammatory drug. Okay, proteases are the enzymes which are used as anti-cancer agents as well as anti-inflammatory agents. And coming to environmental aspects, here the degradation of waste and the detoxification of the greenhouse gases which are present in an environment, they are also identified by using the enzymes. And in the agricultural sector, improving the healthy conditions of animals in the form of feed additives or by processing of the feed, we can use the enzyme applications. And coming to the agro processing, where we are using biopesticides, biofertilizers, bioherbicides. So in all these we are using the term bio because all are cell origin or life origin. So like this we have tremendous applications in different areas like environment, industry, agriculture as well as the medicinal aspects. Okay, so by observing or by hearing all these class, we can conclude that, see students, imagine the life without enzymes. Is there any life without enzymes? No, definitely not. Without enzymes there is no life. Thank you. So in this PowerPoint presentation I have also given a worksheet for students. Please go through this worksheet and practice these questions which are very useful in your PG examinations. Okay. Thank you for giving this wonderful opportunity. Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you one and all.